if I was going to go back and do sales leadership over again, I would make sure that people drew the connection to what it is that we do as a service, as a product, and what it is that they do, that they're the Yoda, right? They're the guide to the impact that they could make on this organization. And if they don't truly believe that, there's the door, because, you know, the reality of it is the culture of the organization is such a bigger deal. So I would focus on the correlation between the impact that we can make and the blocking and tackling of sales leadership that needs to occur. That's one. And then two, I find it shocking, Eric, and I'm a baseball guy. So what do you call somebody that fails 70% of the time?
Hall of Famer.
A Hall of freaking Famer. And how many people are just not okay with just jumping in the pool and figuring out if there's water into it? Bizarre.
Welcome to the RockstarsRocking podcast, powered by Voluntary Disruption, a show dedicated to people who are crushing their business and life goals. These are bite-sized conversations with leading rock stars in their respective industry who are pumped to share their story to help drive you to the next level. So, are you ready to rock? Speaking of rock stars, here's your host, Eric Silverman.
Hey, rock stars, welcome back to another episode of Rockstars Rocking. And boy, do I have a rock star, in fact, the rock star of all rock stars, and a Rockstars Rocking podcast first. And that is a fellow extremely huge Baltimore Orioles fan, my good friend Lester J. Morales, founder and CEO of Next Impact LLC and the creator of THB, Transparent Health Benefits. What's up, Mr. Orioles fan?
Orioles fan. I don't know about that, but I know what picture you like, and that's the picture of my dad and I, and we were the Orioles that year. Yeah, come to find out, I don't think I told you. We went undefeated that year, so a very good one, yeah.
That's awesome, man. And yes, for those that don't know, I know he's not an Orioles fan per se, although he lives vicariously through me. But yes, Lester has a really, I'll use your word, impactful and meaningful picture that he shared many times. In fact, he shared it in Forbes as well. And that is a picture of him and his father where Lester, is wearing an Orioles jersey. And look, I just found out an undefeated season that year. That's pretty cool. All right. Well, listen, Lester, if you don't mind, I got a million questions I want to get into. Everything from sales and leadership and marketing to entrepreneurship to, some boring insurance employee benefit stuff too. Do you mind if I pop right on?
Let's do it.
All right. So I got a question for you, man. You know, everything we do in life all boils down to the why, right? So what better way to start our interview than have you tell us what is your why? Why do you get up in the morning? Why do you do what you do every day, Mr. Morales?
Yeah, Eric, this is easy for me. I'll say it fortunately and unfortunately. I've experienced a lot of healthcare issues in my life. My dad was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is cancer of your bone marrow, when I was 15 years old. Bone marrow transplants, chemo, radiation, and hundreds of thousands of dollars of bills. And my parents, unfortunately, when I was 17 years old, had to file bankruptcy. And fast forward, I didn't know this at the time, but obviously I go away to Florida State. Florida State has a risk management and insurance. So talk about boring. Imagine getting your degree in that, Eric. And then fast forward, great career in the business. And then my favorite person as a Latino, we are very big mama's boys. And in 2014, my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and she passed in 2017. So, man, I look at this and say, I am a product of employee benefits. I know how confusing, how expensive, and how just completely rotten the business is. And now I wake up fired up because I've got two guardian angels upstairs that I've literally had the conversation on their deathbeds about how much they impacted my life. And so that's what I try to do every day, man, whether it's a smile on somebody's face, whether it's motivation, whether it's just a helping hand. I just want to impact everybody that I can. And it's because I've been so blessed to be impacted by others.
You speak about the bankruptcy, medical bankruptcy, and I can appreciate that story so very much. I mean, my mom passed away May 6, 2001 of cancer and heart disease. She had a lot of health problems herself, but my dad was stuck with a lot of bills. And it's interesting because, if somebody asked me many, many years ago what my why was, to be very transparent, to use your word, I wouldn't have said it had to do with medical bankruptcy or my mom, because to me, I was so new and young in the business. It just never clicked. It never resonated. I hadn't helped people pay enough claims in my side of the industry for it to resonate. But these days it does resonate. And we all know that medical bankruptcy is the leading cause of bankruptcy, whereas the average person would assume that it's that they're buying, stuff at Nordstrom when they should be buying stuff at Walmart, that they're buying Lexus when they should be buying Chevy. And that could be it, but that's not really it. The real reason for bankruptcy is medically related. So I totally love and respect that.
67% of personal bankruptcies are because of medical reasons.
Yeah. And for those that don't realize where that number comes from, that's not me and Lester just pulling it out of the thin air. You can Google Harvard University medical bankruptcy study. It was released back in 2005 originally. They've done the study over and over many times. And the number, unfortunately, continues to stay where it's at, or even sadly get higher. So the Harvard University, it's no Florida State, but it is the Harvard University. Go Noles. That's for my cousin Adam's a big Noles fan. So Lester, let me continue in this trend, right? So you grew up in Puerto Rico, and I know you travel back and forth from Puerto Rico to the actual mainland in the States very often for clients and business and personal as well. But what type of and I hope it's not cliche to ask this, but I just know you very well. So, what type of adversity did you go through, trying to make it in the, dare I even use the term, white collar professional world, or for you today, if you're watching on YouTube, purple, pink collar?
So Eric, it's funny. I don't think so. I was actually born here and we moved to the States when I was young. So, okay. But it's a really interesting thing. As a Latin male, I don't know that I identify in any way, shape, or form. Like, I identify as a human. Like, my skin color just happens to be a color. But I can tell you, man, when we moved from Puerto Rico to Orlando to Lake City, I don't know that I've ever told this story out loud. We were the only darker than white family anywhere to be found in Lake City. And my dad got really ostracized at work about this. I mean, so much so that we only lasted in Lake City for less than 8 months before we moved out of there because it just didn't make sense. Now, early 80s, so, times have changed, but I look at this and, hopefully this is not PG enough for your crowd, but, in 6th and 7th grade, the school system that I went to, they would take the suburb kids and ship you, bus you into the inner city. And then the inner city kids, when we were younger, would get bussed out. In 6th and 7th grade, I got jumped on Cracker Day. Now, you can imagine what that, term means, but the reality of it is it was a very us versus them mentality. And because I had friends of all colors, shapes, and sizes, because I don't see color, the reality of it is I got jumped on Cracker Day. Well, in high school and in playing in different baseball leagues, you play with different people. And, and here in Puerto Rico now, I get called gringo, which is like white guy. So it's really interesting to be kind of in the middle, that you get it from both ends. But here's what I always try to say about this. Walk a mile in somebody else's shoes before you can comment, and nobody else can. So the reality of it is, I don't think any of that comes from that the human heart is an evil thing. It comes from just a sheer ignorance state that, somebody was taught something. They saw something. They never taught the other way around. But it's really interesting being in the middle of what I call it, because I've seen it on both ends. And as I get into corporate America, especially in our business, the lack of diversity in our business, whether we're talking about male or female, colored versus not, young versus old. I mean, we are in a business that's starving for diversity. And that's where I would say is a big focus of mine going forward is how do we just share the love of what impactful things we could do inside of our business?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. We do have a lack of diversity, and you know what else we have is, we have a lack in the insurance employee benefits industry of younger folks entering the world and being passionate and excited about growing into this industry further. And look, I'm in only this industry, so I would imagine potentially that there are multiple other industries that have this same problem. But I look at the insurance employee benefits world, and I wrote an article in Employee Benefit Advisor magazine years ago, and the name of the article was "Insurance is Not Sexy." And I think the catalyst there is really why it's so tough to get even younger professionals and college kids to come into the business, because you're right. Insurance, employee benefits, it's just not sexy. It's not exciting sounding. There's no other way to put it. So let me ask you this. You went to FSU, you studied risk management insurance, which that wasn't even a major option where I went to school. I went to school at the 13th grade here in Baltimore. And the reality is I studied marketing, but, knowing you and me as far as I love marketing, knowing you and your love and passion for marketing and how you've excelled with marketing and business and sales and so forth, I would have assumed that you studied marketing to the nth degree, and maybe you did, but I just don't know it. Talk to us about marketing and some of the things you're doing to really get your brand and your name. And by the way, to get other brokers and advisors' brand and name out there, because you do a lot with respect to helping others market themselves.
Yeah, and Eric, I'll take it back to, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about the bigger cause, right? And so if I look at this and say, again, back to the why, there's so much lack of transparency. So back to that THB introduction you gave me, transparent health benefits was nothing more than I was so tired of everybody asking about, well, how is this different from Blue Cross and Blue Shield, or, what it is we're doing? It's like, okay, let's just create this whole new category, which is a marketing term, which, P.S., I listen to podcasts to understand this. So I am a obnoxious consumer of information, typically audio. I wear these, which are headphones that I listen to all the time. I'm in the shower, I'm swimming in the pool, I'm sweating with it, and I'm consuming content. But this category creation was like, hey, if you could create something new and use a very education and content first, approach, well, you can raise the tide together. And as we know, the rising tide lifts all boats, right? So, for me, I didn't study marketing. And I don't even know that I call what I do, marketing. I more come at it from it's a sales enablement strategy, right? And, a lot of people have a negative connotation about salespeople, right? And about sales in general. But Eric, when you do what you do and your passion for it and you're understanding that it really does help, we're not selling or working a day in our lives, right? We are creating an opportunity to educate more people about the value. So when I think about transparency and health benefits, the cost and quality of healthcare changes depending on if you go to that surgeon versus that surgeon. The cost of the MRI is different if you go to the hospital versus the independent imaging center, but who the heck knows? Right? There's people that cut coupons to save 39 cents on lima beans. And when they're going to get an MRI, they could literally spend hundreds of dollars of less, but no one's telling that person. And this whole thought process of marketing is, yes, from an education standpoint, but it's from that word impact. And right, if we can impact more lives, more employee lives, well, they are better employees. They're saving money themselves. their employer is saving money. That means their employer has the opportunity to invest back in their business, grow the economy, hire more people, provide a better benefit for the people. That means that 67% of people don't file bankruptcy. And that means our advisor partners, the guys you and I and the girls you and I work with, we make them better. But you know what it does? It makes you more proud about what it is that you do. So although it is marketing in the grassroots of it, what I really try to do in this is make sure that we're educating people on that there is something different. So we've got a sales enablement platform that is actually using content-based first. Hey, sending emails and social posts every single day. All of those social posts, all of those emails have a way to engage. Download this, click here, read more, listen to this, join this webinar. Well, it helps answer the two hardest questions in sales, Eric. Who do I call and what do I talk to them about? Well, you call the person that just downloaded your ebook. What do you talk to them about? The ebook, right? And so as you led a bunch of salespeople, so did I. And what we find out is that the average salesperson is one, lazy, and two, not very good. So in this strategy, this is kind of overlapping if I can make my hot rods, let's go rock stars, right? If I can keep them rocking, then as a leader, they're happier and they're generating more revenue for the organization and they're providing more value and impact to their clients and prospects. And then for everybody through the food chain, whether it's their service provider partners, whether it's other advisors, whether it's, anybody through the food chain, everybody gains. And so that's what we do in this platform. It was an idea, Eric, that I had pitched to Willis, almost 6 years ago. And it has been my brainchild for the last 6 years. And it's amazing, but it all comes back to making sure that people are able to share a message that is impactful with as many people as possible.
Well, you seem pretty fired up about it. And I know we've talked offline about it. I know that we have a lot of mutual friends, colleagues, and even clients that are part of your program. The Sales Enablement platform, one of the things, and I've even participated in it, and I appreciate you asking, is that you do talk to me about this because, getting in front of a captive audience, even a registered captive audience is pretty, to me, it's mission critical. And you do bi-weekly, monthly webinars that you put on where you have industry experts on various topics and so forth speak. And you do two. You do one webinar, I believe, for advisors, brokers, consultants, producers, and you do another same topic, but another webinar geared toward actual C-suite employers. Talk to me about what that's done for or within the Sales Enablement platform. I mean, I've been a part of it a couple times and I appreciate it. And I just know you get so many people in those webinars.
Yeah, again, it's all about the who and the what, right? Who do I talk to? What do I talk to them about? So, if you're producing good, engaging information, and I think about this and I thought about this, the idea of it. Now, I can't execute it. I'm a sales guy, right? I'm an insurance nerd. I'm not a marketing guy. So my team's amazing at the execution of this, but I really do things and I try to sell like I buy. Right? So it's the same kind of conversation in that scenario. What do I fall for when I'm clicking through Facebook? Oh, that's interesting. I want to learn more about it. It provided value to me. I click on it. I downloaded an article. I watched a 5-minute video, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm trapped in the funnel. I'm a perfect funnel person. Like I get caught in so many funnels, it's ridiculous. But that's when I learn about it. And so that's what we try to do is push out really good content, educate people, Gary V, jab, 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 right? The right hook is, well, we sent you an email, you downloaded something, you registered for that webinar. That webinar was people who are the experts of the experts. So you're hearing Eric Silverman talk about engagement and in communication and enrollment and all the things that you are an expert on. And then we say, hey, do you want some help in this? Raise your hand. So again, it is sales. So let's not, let's not mince words. It is sales, because at that point we want to talk to the people that raise their hand. But the reality of it is, if we all believe in their good topics, it is that enablement to impact more so than it is that. So yeah, it has been a game changer, Eric. 20, actually this month will be the 24th month in a row that we have at least done 2 webinars for those 2 audiences. And now we've got 5 different programs. So I'm doing about 10 to 12 webinars a month nowadays for different audiences. I've got one at 2:00 today.
Yeah. So I imagine you're not going to stop going now that we're going into 2022 at some point soon.
Oh, no. I mean, it's only going to get better, because what we've learned is, let's not worry about the topic as much. Let's worry about solving a problem. So now every month is going to be dedicated to an issue or a goal and objective. And we're going to have different strategies and approaches that different employers have used, or different advisors have used, to solve that problem. So we're switching it up slightly so that people can personify a little bit better how they might use the wrench. They know that there's a wrench in the toolbox, but maybe they didn't necessarily understand how to use that wrench. Now let's teach them every single month how to use the wrench and when to use it.
So let's back up for a minute, right? Because you touched on it a little bit, but we didn't dive into it. So you are a very, very high-end leader at Willis, one of the top 50 worldwide employee benefits insurance brokerages. You were managing a book of more than $250 million, if my memory serves me correctly. And then you left to pursue your entrepreneurial dream. Talk to me about why, not specific, but in general, why you wanted to become an entrepreneur. I mean, you left I'm not saying you didn't work for it. It was hard as hell, I'm sure, but you left a pretty sweet gig where you were probably making pretty good coin.
I think about sometimes a lot, Eric. So yeah, I was the chief growth officer for Willis North America for the human capital practice. So we were a $350 million practice, and I was 32 when I got that job. I was doing 200 nights a year in a hotel. So it was exhausting. I learned a ton. I got to travel globally. I was part of our global leadership program. I was one of 100 executives in North America. I mean, I got to do things that I could never dream of. So I am uber grateful that I had the opportunity. Now, to your point, I worked my ASS off on that, but reality of it is I was given an opportunity, and I'm grateful for it, and I made the best out of it. What I learned, there was 2 things that I learned. One was triggered by the other. Mom was diagnosed in 2014 with pancreatic cancer. And she says to me, son, I never want you to have a regret. And we had a conversation about regret. Now, my mom was probably talking to me about finally getting married, knowing mom. I took it in the business sense because that's what I like to talk about. And my one regret in the back of my mind, I had been a great personal contributor. I had been a good leader. I've had a team, I've developed, I've made a crap load of money, et cetera, et cetera. What I never did, Eric, was make payroll. I call it making payroll. Like today, you and I make payroll. Our paychecks go to feed the mouths of children, put them in private school, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd never done that before. And I call it Michael Jordan theory. So Michael Jordan wasn't the best basketball player that ever walked the court because of his personal production. Michael Jordan was the best because everybody's stats around him were better when he was on the court. And so that definition of greatness, and maybe it's a little bit arrogant, Eric, and I'm okay with that, but I wanted to be known as one of the greats, and not because I figured this out for myself, but because I impacted others. And I'll never forget it. Mike Barton, who was the CEO of Willis North America Benefits, he was my boss's boss when I was a producer. I called him. I said, man, you're 50 something. You're retired already. He said, Lester, the one thing I'll regret is I never bet on me. And that was the challenge that I needed, Eric, was I was going to place the chip on the LJM board, and I was going to bet on me. And so that was 5.5 years ago. It has been an up, a down, a left, a right, a curvy, a burvy, a dervy. But I can honestly say I'm a different man. I'm a different professional. I view the world, the life, and the word impact has just become such a center point of my life, which is why my business is named what it is, and what I talk about every day.
Yeah, I mean, look, I met you 2-3 years ago, roughly, not quite 3, but more than 2 years ago. And it feels like I've known you longer, but you were, for lack of a better term, still getting started with Next Impact. I mean, you were nobody's got it figured out. I've been doing this 22 years in the benefits world. I don't have it all figured out. I'm still learning and growing and testing and retooling and trial and error. But you were really just getting it moving. And, I've seen it grow to where it's at now. And I can't wait to see where it's going to be in the next 2-3 years, because it's growing like a rocket, which it's just fantastic. I'm curious your opinion. You've led so many people. You lead so many people now, and whether you know it or not, and I'm sure you'd realize it, you even mentor a lot of people, and you do it just to help impact themselves, yourself, and even our industry and society. But talk to me about sales leadership for a minute, if you can. Talk to me about I'm a big abundance over scarcity person, and I know you are as well. So do you have any thoughts on sales leadership and abundance versus scarcity and anything in that realm?
Abundance versus scarcity, the day I did, and I'm going to shout out my first business coach. And so I'll say I waited way too long to get a business coach. I would have done that a long time ago. There are things that you learn. There are things that you need to deal with. And so Steve Napolitan, who I know you know and have seen before, he helped me get through my money mindset. And it's really interesting, the day I started to realize that the more money I made, the more impact I can make, is the day that I believe the rest of my career will have been impacted. I will look back at that day as a very remarkable day. Before, I don't think that I'm that materialistic. I like nice things. Let's be honest. I like nice activities. Like, I want Eric to call me on a Friday and be like, dude, I got Orioles World Series tickets. You want to go? And I want to be able, I'll never say that. I want to be able to say yes immediately. And that comes with an economic position to do so.
Right.
But that's what I thought before. It was the ability to, my parents fought about money. We filed bankruptcy. It impacted my life. I wanted to kind of set that aside and be like, got it. My nieces need something. I'm going to give it to them. But it was about that security and safety. It wasn't necessarily impactful. And when I started to switch that, so if I was going to go back and do sales leadership over again, I would make sure that people drew the connection to what it is that we do as a service, as a product, and what it is that they do, that they're the Yoda, right? They're the guide to the impact that they could make on this organization. And if they don't truly believe that, there's the door, because the reality of it is the culture of the organization is such a bigger deal. So I would focus on the correlation between the impact that we can make and the blocking and tackling of sales leadership that needs to occur. That's one. And then two, I find it shocking, Eric, and I'm a baseball guy. So what do you call somebody that fails 70% of the time?
Hall of Famer.
A Hall of freaking Famer. And how many people are just not okay with just jumping in the pool and figuring out if there's water into it? Bizarro. And so, it's now, okay, don't get them focused on the jumping part. Get them focusing on taking off the shirt and putting it next to the pool and making progress. And I believe that I didn't do that as well as I could have. So if I can go back and do it again, it's like, hey, little victories, little victories, little victories. You control those little victories. And then once that happens and those two connections happen with the impact and the fact that they know the steps, and boom, game changer. So, I really do think sales leaders need to help people work up here more than I believe that most organizations invest in that mindset creation.
Yeah, you're so right. Too many people, and I've seen it. I've led thousands of people over my career. I'm a recovering carrier rep from the carrier world, and so many people, if they're not batting 1,000%, they feel like they're failing, and they don't get it. That's not. It's literally not possible. Tony Gwynn, Ted Williams, they're the best hitters ever. Pete Rose, they didn't bat 1,000 either, and all of them, well, except for one of them, are in the Hall of Fame. One of them should be, in my opinion. Anyway, message me if you want to debate that. I love talking that topic. Anybody listening? Pete Rose, who we're talking about. Anyway, as we start to wrap up, I want to talk about your podcast. You're on my podcast. I appreciate you, my friend. Rockstars Rocking. You're the rock star. You're rocking it out. Obviously, we've already talked about the how and the why. But talk to me about your podcast called Impact Healthcare, impacthealthcare.fm. Talk to me about it. Why should people listen?
Man, I'll tell you, Eric, and you know me, I'll get on stage. I have no call reluctance. I'm not scared to talk to anybody.
Right.
Yeah, I think the proudest moment I was is when we finally released the first podcast episode, because I had been talking about wanting to do it for so long. And then it's like, you get that imposter syndrome, right? Of like,
Sure.
Why the hell would anybody want to listen to me? And I am shocked, and we're not getting that many downloads. So we're on episode, like, I think 12 or 15, somewhere around there. Impact Healthcare. Unlike you, I think I love, I'm just not overly that interesting. I always say I'm an inch wide and a mile deep. I'm really good at this one thing. So my podcast is about this, but it has nothing to do with sales. It has all to do with impacting healthcare. So we talk about the people and the strategies that are doing cool things. And so we interview advisors, service providers, clients, even members that have done something outside of the norm, and the results and the impact that that's been able to have. And so, our mutual friend, Jim Blachek, I just had him on, and we talk about his why and how it changed his life and now his new mission. I've had Nelson on. I mean, we've had a lot of our mutual friends on, and I think what I have learned from that, Eric, and I think you could agree with this, is we get so fixated on likes and downloads and all of this stuff. And man, I bet this week alone, between the last 7 days, I've had 3 or 4 people saying, "Hey, I heard your podcast episode." I am still so humbled that somebody gave a crap. And in fact, a prospect that we met with yesterday said, "I Googled you and I saw that a podcast episode and I listened to it. I want to do that with my employees." So it's like,
That's
oh my
amazing.
God, this works. But
Right.
It wasn't about money for him. It wasn't money for me. He heard a story about somebody who forwent having a back procedure because they couldn't afford it. And then he started to think about it, and we did the math that says, hey, a $5,000 cost for somebody who's making $35,000 for a CEO making $250,000 is like you having a $40,000 deductible. Think about that word empathy. And the CEO of this meeting yesterday said that really was impactful for him. Dude, I could have gone to sleep and said that day was successful right then and there at 10 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, man, we're going to keep going. I want to get to doing an episode a week, I think would be, great for me. But every other Wednesday we drop an episode, and it's been a learning experience. And if I would think that you have the same suggestion for everybody is just like Nike, just do it. Like You're going to figure out what, that one sucked. Let me do this better next time. And I love what you did preparing for this one. Let it be organic. There's like, let's just bob and weave our way through a good conversation. This isn't about sales. This isn't about self-promotion. This is about organic conversations that hopefully touch and impact somebody later on down the road.
For sure, for sure. Well, for anybody that's not already subscribed to the Impact Healthcare podcast with the hostess with the mostest, Lester Morales, go ahead and make sure you subscribe anywhere you can consume podcasts. And while you're at it, check out RockstarsRocking. If I know you're listening, but are you subscribed, right? That's the key question. Lester, I'm going to steal your term, my friend. As we wrap up, what are your parting shots?
My parting shots, if I think of RockstarsRocking, Eric, and I think about our relationship and what that, I would just say the word love, and love what you do, right? This isn't about making money, although obviously it will come. This isn't about fame. You don't do this. I mean, you're one of the most followed people in our business on social media. And you post stupid shit about the day of the day, right? Like it's not about promoting your business, and I mean that with all love. And it's just a like, right? It's become a like. Before I met you, I used to be like, this guy is a weirdo, and then I realized that you actually have a lot of fun with it, and so now we're friends on Facebook, and so I see you do the same thing in your business life that you do with your kids. I mean, I know who your kids are. I know their names. I know they like watching movies. I play board games. I mean, so I look at this and say, if somebody wanted to be a rock star rockin', right, it boils down to doing what you like, doing it with the people that you like. Like, we get to do business together, right? And we're friends. I get to go to Pennsylvania and stay at Jim Blachek's house versus staying, in a hotel. We get to impact lives together, but it all comes down with that commonality of doing things that you like with people that you like. If you can make that the center point of what it is that makes you money, in my opinion, that will lead to wild success. And in my opinion, then you'll be on RockstarsRocking, because at that point you're unstoppable when it's not called work anymore. It's just called impact or the love of the game. So
I love it. And you even squeezed in a good baseball movie right there for the love of the game. Very nice. I see what you did right there. All right. Well, listen, man, you've said it all. I appreciate you coming on. And, I always say, and this is not something I, as an expression, I didn't create it. We've all heard the term, it takes a village. I just show up and ask a few questions and have some fun and have a good conversation. But I don't put any of this stuff together. I have a team behind me that does it all. So, and I couldn't do anything without them. So listen, for everybody behind the scenes at the RockstarsRocking podcast, I appreciate you coming on. I'm Eric Silverman. I appreciate everybody listening. That is Lester Morales. Check out Lester Morales' website at nextimpactllc.com, nextimpactllc.com. He's very, very active on LinkedIn. I'm sure you can direct message him and he would gladly engage in some type of conversation. So Lester, appreciate you, my friend. I look forward to seeing you soon at another event that we always go to for sure. Thanks, awesome, my friend.
Man. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the RockstarsRocking podcast. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. And if you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. 5 stars would totally rock. Until next time, Rockstars, keep rocking.